am not proud of this story. I am not sharing it to be forgiving, and I am not sharing it because I think I am innocent. I am sharing it because silence has a way of slowly destroying the person who carries it, piece by piece, memory by memory, until you can no longer recognize the woman staring back at you in the mirror. This is not a testimony. It is not motivation. It is not a warning wrapped in drama. It is simply how my life unfolded. How a series of small, desperate choices became a prison I didn't see being built around me. My name is Ada. I grew up in a small town in the southeast of Nigeria where everyone knew everyone, and reputations mattered more than money. My father was a secondary school teacher, not rich, not powerful, but respected, the kind of man people greeted on the street, the kind whose word carried weight in our community. He believed deeply in education and discipline. In our house, books were treated with more care than furniture. My father would spend his small salary on encyclopedias and novels, saying that knowledge was the only inheritance that couldn't be stolen. I believed him. When I was still in primary school, barely 11 years old, my father died suddenly after a brief illness that the local clinic couldn't diagnose properly. Overnight, everything changed. The respect disappeared, the help disappeared, and the relatives who used to visit with gifts and advice stopped coming. My mother became the sole provider. She did petty trading, selling tomatoes and pepper in the market. She took cleaning jobs and washed clothes for wealthier families. Anything that brought money home, she did without complaint. I watched her age quickly. Lines appeared on her face that weren't there before. Stress sat on her shoulders, permanently bending her spine a little more each year. I learned early not to ask for things, not new shoes, not school trips, not the things other children had. Every need felt like a burden I was adding to her, already breaking back. After secondary school, I didn't go straight to university. There was no money. My GEM score was excellent, but excellent scores don't pay school fees, buy handouts, or put food in your stomach. I worked for years, selling clothes at the market, assisting in shops, and running errands for neighbors, saving little by little in a wooden box under my bed. Those years hardened me. I became practical, careful, and guarded. I stopped dreaming about the future and started focusing only on the next step. When I finally gained admission into the university at 20 years old, I was older than most students in my class and already exhausted before lectures even began. University was not the freedom I had imagined as a child. It was pressure with no safety net. It was survival with a different face. From the first semester, it was obvious that campus life favors people with money or connections, preferably both. Accommodation was unstable. Hostels were overcrowded and unsafe. Private lodges were expensive. Many of us squeezed into single rooms with 5 or 6 other girls, sleeping in shifts and studying under dim bulbs that flickered constantly. Handouts were compulsory but expensive. Lecturers made their own notes mandatory, and the department photocopiers charged prices that seemed designed to discourage learning. Departments collected fees without explanation. Development levy, departmental dues, and exam registration charges that were never on any official list. I was serious about my studies. I attended classes religiously, read diligently, and took good notes. My goal was simple: graduate with at least a 2-1 and leave that place forever. But stress followed me everywhere like a shadow. I developed chronic headaches. My menstrual cycles became irregular. During exams, my body reacted badly. My heart would race uncontrollably. My hands would shake so hard I could barely hold a pen. And sometimes my mind would blank out completely even though I had studied. I hid it because vulnerability on campus attracts predators, male students who offer help with conditions, female students who mock weakness, lecturers who see desperation as opportunity, so I told no one. During a test in my second year, I fainted. One moment I was writing, trying to focus through the pounding in my head and the tightness in my chest. The next moment, everything went black. I woke up in a lecturer's office, lying on a small couch with a wet cloth on my forehead. The man sitting across from me was senior, respected, married, and influential. Students feared him because he was strict with deadlines and standards, but they also admired him because he seemed genuinely committed to academic excellence. He was known as someone who helped serious students, those who worked hard and showed potential. He didn't touch me inappropriately. He didn't ask invasive questions. He didn't make jokes or comments about my body. He asked if I had eaten that day, and I said no. He asked when I had last eaten properly. I couldn't remember. Then, sitting in that quiet office with this man I barely knew showing me simple human concern, I burst into tears, ugly, uncontrollable sobbing that came from a place deeper than hunger. He waited patiently until I stopped. From that day, he paid attention to me, not in an obvious way, not in a way that made other students notice, but I felt it. He helped me get medical clearance for the missed tests and the ones I would miss later due to health issues. He offered me a small research assistant role, organizing his files, typing up lecture notes, and updating reading lists. The stipend wasn't much, maybe 10 or 15,000 naira a month, but it meant I could eat regularly again without calculating every 100 naira. Later, when my mother's health worsened, she developed high blood pressure and needed regular medication. He helped pay for it, not once, but repeatedly, quietly, without making me beg. I didn't see danger. I saw relief. I saw someone who understood hardship without judging it. Someone who helped without demanding immediate explanations or making me feel like a charity case. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. There was no romance at first. What grew between us was dependence, slow, quiet, almost invisible. He was older, maybe in his late 40s, calm, and always composed. He spoke like someone who understood hardship intimately, though he never shared details of his own struggles. Then, one evening, while we were talking in his office after everyone had left, he told me about his marriage. He said he was divorced, that his wife had left him years ago, moved abroad with another man, and that the separation had been painful but final. He said he lived alone now, focusing on his work and his students because family life had failed him. He showed me old photos on his phone, pictures of himself, much younger, alone at different locations, with no wedding ring in any of them. These were carefully selected images that told the story he wanted me to believe. He spoke about loneliness with such quiet pain that I felt sorry for him. I believed him completely. Why wouldn't I? He was a lecturer, a respected academic, a man who spoke with authority and confidence, and I was a desperate 22-year-old girl who wanted to believe that someone good and available could care about me. He even mentioned casually how he avoided faculty social events because seeing other families together reminded him of what he'd lost, how his colleagues felt sorry for him, and how he'd learned to be content alone. Every detail was strategic, every story perfectly crafted, every emotion carefully measured. That belief made everything that happened next feel almost acceptable. Looking back now, I can see how deliberately he built the cage. He never invited me to his house, always saying it held too many painful memories of his failed marriage and that he preferred neutral spaces. He never introduced me to his colleagues socially, saying he wanted to keep his personal life private after all the gossip during his divorce. He always paid in cash, saying he was old-fashioned and didn't trust mobile transfers for personal matters. He controlled when we met, always on his schedule, always when it was convenient for him, always in places where we wouldn't be seen together publicly. And he made me feel grateful for all of it, grateful for the secrecy that was actually concealment, grateful for the distance that was actually protection for his real life, grateful for the crumbs of attention he gave me between going home to his wife and children. But I didn't know about them yet. He positioned himself as someone I could rely on when everything else was falling apart. And I did rely on him for money when emergencies arose, for advice when I felt overwhelmed, for the feeling that someone somewhere cared whether I made it through another day. That dependence felt like gratitude, and gratitude over time started feeling like something else. At the same time, I was dating a fellow student named Chidi. He was in his final year studying engineering, hopeful, emotional, always talking about the future, about starting a business together, about building something meaningful, about getting married after graduation. I cared about him, maybe even loved him in the way you love someone who makes you feel normal, young, and hopeful. But my life was already heavy, and I didn't know how to explain the weight I was carrying without revealing things I couldn't admit. Then his grades started dropping mysteriously. Courses he had passed suddenly became carryovers, scripts went missing during remarking, and appeals to the department failed without explanation. His project supervisor became suddenly unavailable, delaying his graduation. He was confused and angry, desperately trying to understand what was happening to him. I knew. One evening, after helping me with something I can't even remember now, the lecturer mentioned casually, almost gently, that emotional distractions affect academic outcomes, that sometimes students lose focus when relationships become too consuming, that it's unfortunate but common. The threat was never spoken directly, but I understood the message perfectly. That relationship ended quietly shortly after. Chidi never knew why his academic life fell apart. He probably still doesn't. He probably blames himself, thinks he wasn't good enough, wasn't focused enough. The guilt of that has never left me. I watched a good man's future get derailed because I existed in his life. The affair did not start with seduction. It started with gratitude, then emotional closeness, then exhaustion, then loneliness. So deep I couldn't remember what it felt like not to be tired. One night, when I felt overwhelmed and completely alone, my mother was sick again. Rent was due. I had failed a crucial test despite studying. I called him crying. He came to where I was staying, and we talked for hours. He listened without interrupting, without offering quick solutions, without making me feel weak for breaking down. Then, in that space between comfort and desperation, the line was crossed. After that night, there was no pretending. We were together. Or so I thought, a divorced man and a struggling student finding comfort in each other. It felt wrong to some people, maybe, but it didn't feel evil, not then. Within months, he rented a modest apartment for me. Nothing luxurious, just a small one-bedroom place in a quiet area off campus. It wasn't for show, just for privacy and safety. A place where I didn't have to share a room with 5 other girls or worry about someone stealing my belongings. He paid my school fees until graduation, tuition, departmental charges, project costs, everything. I graduated with a second-class upper division, a 2-1. To my mother, who came for my graduation ceremony with tears in her eyes, I said I had been working online, doing freelance writing and virtual assistant jobs for foreign clients. She was proud, relieved, and grateful to God for answering her prayers. I hated lying to her, but I didn't know how to tell the truth without destroying her, without making her feel that all her sacrifices, all her years of suffering to keep me in school had led to this. So I smiled in the graduation photos and let her believe her daughter had made it through on hard work and divine favor alone. Everything shattered on a Saturday afternoon in June 2025. My former class representative, Ngozi, was celebrating her birthday. It was a big party, a rented hall, a DJ, photographers, the whole thing. She had invited everyone from our set, and I went because staying home alone was starting to feel like suffocation. I was standing near the food table, trying to look comfortable and make small talk with former classmates when Ngozi's mother arrived with some special guest. With her was a family, a complete, intact, beautiful family. My lecturer, his wife, and 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, the youngest, maybe 7 years old. Time stopped. They walked in together, laughing. His wife was elegant, glowing, wearing Ankara that matched his shirt perfectly, the kind of coordination that comes from years of marriage, from morning discussions about what to wear, from intimacy and partnership. The children ran ahead excitedly, well-dressed, well-behaved, calling out Ngozi's younger siblings. The oldest boy looked about 15, which meant my mind was calculating frantically. The youngest was 7. This meant she was born while I was in secondary school, while he was building his career, while his marriage was supposedly falling apart. His wife touched his arm affectionately, leaning in to whisper something that made him smile. That same gentle smile he used with me when I was upset, when I needed comfort, when I believed I was special to him. They looked happy, not pretending for photos, not playing roles for public appearance, but actually genuinely happy. He saw me at the exact moment I saw him. Our eyes met across the hall. His face didn't change, didn't panic, didn't show guilt or surprise or fear. He just looked at me, steadily, calmly, with a slight tilt of his head, as if he was assessing how I would react, calculating his next move, already preparing his response. Then he smiled slightly and turned to his wife and said something that made her laugh, her head tilting back, her hand squeezing his arm in that familiar way wives touch husbands they trust completely. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight. My vision started tunneling, and I realized I was about to faint again. Just like that day in the exam hall, just like the day this whole nightmare began. I left the party immediately, stumbling through the crowd, ignoring people calling my name, pushing through the door into the hot afternoon sun. I vomited in the gutter outside before I could even find transportation home. Then I sat there on the curb, shaking, replaying every conversation, every story, every carefully crafted lie. The colleague who supposedly pitied him probably invited him to family events with his wife, creating painful memories in his house where his children did homework and his wife cooked dinner. The loneliness he claimed while going home every single night to a warm bed and a woman who loved him was a lie. I had been so stupid, so desperately, completely stupid. I called him that night, shaking with rage and betrayal, and something darker. The horrible realization that I had no power here, that I had never had power, that everything I thought was a relationship was actually just him moving chess pieces I didn't even know were on the board. He answered on the 3rd ring, calm, like always. Ada. I screamed, "You lied. You said you were divorced. You said Ada." His voice was steady, almost kind, the same voice he used when explaining difficult concepts in class. "I never said I was divorced. You said your wife left you. You said I said my marriage was complicated, that we were distant. I never said I lived alone. You assumed that." The precision of his words hit me like cold water. I couldn't breathe. He continued, still calm, still measured, Did I ever bring you to my house? Did I ever introduce you to anyone as my girlfriend? Did I ever promise marriage? Silence. He was right. He had never explicitly promised anything. Every commitment had been implied, suggested, assumed by me based on his careful presentation of facts that were technically true but fundamentally misleading. Ada, you need to think clearly now. If this comes out, if you report me, if you make noise about this, what happens? You lose your job. I was crying now, angry tears that burned my face. Yes, I lose my job. My children lose their school fees. My daughter's music lessons stop. My son's admission to good secondary schools disappears. My wife's reputation is destroyed in her church, in her family, in our community. Everything they've built, everything they have gone because of this. He paused. But Ada, you lose more. The silence stretched. You think people will call you a victim? You're 25 years old. You graduated already. You weren't some confused fresher. You accepted money. You lived in an apartment I paid for. You continued even after graduation. They'll call you a prostitute. They'll say you seduced a married man for financial gain. Your mother will know. Your church will know. Everyone in your village will know. I was sobbing. Your name will be the one whispered in markets and church gatherings. My name will recover. Men always do. But you, a young woman who slept with a married lecturer, that follows you forever. Every job interview, every marriage prospect, every introduction. I didn't know you were married, I whispered. Who will believe that? His voice was gentle, almost pitying. Who will believe that in 4 years you never once questioned why you never met my friends, never visited my house, never came to faculty events? They will say you knew. They will say you didn't care, because that's easier to believe than admitting you were just naive. I felt something break inside me. I'm not threatening you, he said softly. I'm protecting both of us. What we had was beautiful while it lasted. Let's not destroy it with anger. You're a smart girl, Ada. You know the math here. You know who loses more. Then he hung up, and I sat there in my apartment, the apartment he paid for, holding the phone he bought me, wearing the clothes his money purchased, and understood that he was right. I had no power. I had never had power, and he had known that from the very first day. 2 months later, in August 2025, I discovered I was pregnant. I took 3 tests, all positive. I didn't cry when I saw them. I felt numb. That strange emptiness that comes when you've worried about something so long that actually facing it feels almost like relief. For 2 weeks, I didn't tell him, trying to figure out what to do, researching options, calculating costs, imagining futures that all looked impossible. When I finally told him in December, he was calm, controlled. He didn't panic or get angry or blame me or ask if I was sure it was his. He just said, okay, we'll handle it. Then he started talking about options, speaking in that same measured, professorial tone he used for everything, about traveling abroad, maybe Ghana, maybe somewhere in Europe, where these things are managed discreetly and safely, about giving birth quietly in a private facility where questions aren't asked, about starting fresh somewhere else where no one knew our story. Still no acknowledgement of his wife, still no acknowledgement of his 3 children, still no suggestion that this child will be recognized as his just logistics, management, arrangements. Think about your mother, he said, leaning back in his chair like we were discussing a research project. Think about what this would do to her if the truth comes out. She's already fragile. The stress could kill her. He was right about that too. Or, he continued, we can explore other options if you prefer. I know someone, a doctor, very professional, very safe. It would be handled discreetly. You'd recover quickly. Life goes on. He said it so casually, like we were choosing between restaurants. Think about it, he said, but don't take too long. These things are better handled early. I left his office that day and walked for hours, my hand pressed against my still flat stomach, wondering how I had become someone making these kinds of choices. The months that followed were strange. I was pregnant but couldn't tell anyone. I was terrified but had to appear normal. I was mourning a relationship that had never actually existed. I started having nightmares, dreams, where I was at my graduation again, but this time everyone knew. Everyone was pointing and laughing, and my mother was crying in the front row while his wife stood beside her, showing her photos of all the lies. I would wake up gasping, my hand on my growing belly, feeling the baby move and wondering what kind of mother I would be when I was still trying to figure out what kind of person I had become. He sent money regularly, texted to ask how I was feeling, but never visited anymore, never stayed long when we did meet. The tenderness was gone, replaced with efficiency. I was no longer a person to him. I was a problem being managed. I am 25 years old now, in January 2026. I am educated with a good degree that feels worthless. I am pregnant 6 months now, with a child whose father has 3 other children he goes home to every night. I am dependent on a man who lied about everything except his willingness to pay my bills. I am not innocent, but I am not the villain he will make me out to be if I speak. I made survival decisions that slowly became chains I didn't realize were being locked around me until it was too late to easily break free. I don't know whether to leave, to walk away from the only financial stability I've known in years, to face single motherhood with no support system, to let my mother finally know the truth and watch her heart break. I don't know whether to stay, to continue this half-life of secrecy and control, to raise a child in hiding, to watch him go home to his real family every single day while I wait for phone calls and bank transfers. I don't know whether to go abroad, like he suggests, to disappear from everyone I know, to start over in a country where I have no one, to raise a child alone in a place where even the language might be foreign. I don't know how to tell my mother that her daughter, the one she suffered for, prayed for, believed in, is pregnant for a married lecturer with 3 children. I only know that silence is starting to suffocate me, that carrying this secret alone is slowly erasing the person I used to be, the person my father thought I would become, and I know that he was right about everything. I can't report him without losing everything too. The system protects men like him and it punishes women like me. I am speaking now because these things happen quietly every day. Because predators don't always look like monsters, sometimes they look like saviors. Because help can become control so gradually you don't notice until you're trapped. Because lies told calmly are more dangerous than obvious deception. Because not every villain threatens loudly. Some just quietly remind you of everything you have to lose. Because the worst traps are the ones where you lock yourself inside while believing you're being protected. Because somewhere out there, another young woman is accepting help from someone who seems kind, and she needs to know that kindness can have conditions you don't see until it's too late. Because another girl believes a man who says he's divorced, who shows her carefully selected photos, who speaks about loneliness with practiced pain. Because another student is watching her boyfriend's grades mysteriously drop and doesn't understand why this is my confession. Not for sympathy, not for judgment, just for truth. Because speaking it out loud is the only power I have left, and maybe somehow it will make the path forward clearer, not just for me, but for the next girl who thinks a divorced lecturer is showing her genuine concern. He's not divorced. He's just careful, very, very careful. If you are reading this and see yourself in any part of my story, if you are trapped between survival and dignity, between gratitude and control, between silence and truth, please know you are not alone. And please know that it's not your fault that you believe someone who presented himself as safe. The trap was built long before you walked into it, but you can still find your way out. I'm still trying to find mine. I totally feel lost, but your counsel would definitely go a long way. Please do kindly share my story. It may just save a sister from a life of trauma.